Hello BS7, how are you? I hope that your people are fine. And although I had decided that I will take a Zoom class, but because the power was quite stable today, so I thought, why not make a presentation instead? Because in the Zoom class, one way or another, people are left behind, and that doesn't seem good or fair. So, we have to discuss the Chinese political system today. Um, First of all, you need to understand the hierarchy of the national level Communist Party in China. Because so far, you people may have understood that the most important institution in China is the Communist Party itself. And the Politburo or the Standing Committee is the most important decision making body in China. So, first of all, there is a party congress which have more than 2000 delegates. Then there is a central committee that have 205 members and 171 alternate members. These alternate members are just like the non-permanent members of Security Council. They rotate. Then there is the Politburo. It has 25 members in particular, but the Politburo Standing Committee, which is the most powerful decision-making committee in China, it has 7 members. So moving on, the Politburo Standing Committee. So as I have already said, the most powerful policy and decision-making entity in China is the PSC or the Politburo Standing Committee. It has seven members. Currently, all of them are men. Each man has a rank from 1 to 7. The means first most powerful man in China, second most powerful man in China, third most powerful man in China. So they have a ranking. They have a particular hierarchy within the standing committee as well. The highest ranked man is the current president of China, Xi Jinping, and whoever will be the next president of China will be the next first ranking man. The second part, where we had 25 members, the Politburo. See, this is Politburo Standing Committee, okay? This is only Politburo. There is a difference. Politburo have 25 members, including the 7 members from the Politburo Standing Committee. This has 2 female members out of 25. Due to the large size and geographical diversity, the Politburo is not involved in day-to-day decision making. In 2012, it met just 8 times. In 2020, last year, it met 6 times because of the COVID. Meetings often focus in one single policy issue. Means in one meeting, they only discuss one policy issue. It is not that like in Pakistan, I don't know how many of you follow parliamentary debates, but if you even look at the PDA, the Parliamentary Debate Assembly, there is a proper library where all the debates are kept, all the minutes of the debates are kept. You will see that there are different points, different policy on agenda, and even if you have seen any of Pakistani assemblies political debates, they say that now we will talk on agenda number 1, now we will talk on agenda number 2. So there are different things to be decided in a single meeting, but that is not the case with Chinese Politburo. Now, the State Council and the role of the Premier. The State Council is China's cabinet. All the ministers, they are known as the State Council, and it is headed by the Premier. And it is sometimes, the Premier is known as Zhongli in China, and it is sometimes referred to in English as the Prime Minister. The Premier serves concurrently on the Politburo Standing Committee. The Premier is the second highest ranking official in China, only behind the President. The current Premier is Li Qiang. Okay. So as the State Council manages the economy on a day-to-day basis, the Premier is effectively China's most senior economic official, although he does have other portfolios as well. Means he does take care of other departments, but economics is something, or the economy of the country is something that is his primary job. Below the Premier, there are 4 state vice premiers. Below the vice premiers are 5 state councillors. So understand this. Below the premier, we have 4 state council vice premiers, and below every of these vice premiers, there are 5 state councils. Okay. Then China's most senior diplomat, the foreign affairs portfolio is not represented at the vice premier level. Rather, China's most senior diplomat is the state councillor Yang Ji, who oversees the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. So, like, he is the foreign minister, okay, in our terminology. The State Council Legislative Affairs Office plays a decisive role in the formulation of national regulations and laws. They make the laws and the regulation. It drafts the government's legislative agenda on a year-to-year basis and then works with relevant government ministries and agencies to implement that agenda. So you can see that they are not only making the laws, but the same council is also implementing the laws. Okay. So China's leading political institutions, the Communist Party, dominates the Chinese political system. But there are 5 political institutions in China that are very, very important. First, the topmost you can see, Communist Party. Then we have the State Council, the People Liberation Army, the National People's Congress, the Chinese People's Political Consultative Conference. These are the 5 most important or the leading political institutions in China that you should know if you want to know about the Chinese political system. So the Chinese Communist Party. The Chinese Communist Party assumed power in 1949 after the revolution. We all know that. There are about 86 million members of the Chinese Communist Party. This represents almost 6% of China's population, which is 1.34 billion. Theoretically, anyone over the age of 18 can join the Communist Party, but they must be an atheist. So, the people who are Muslims and Buddhists and Christians in China cannot be members of the Communist Party. However, in 2011, there were 21 million applicants and only 15% were accepted. It is said, I don't know whether it is true or not, that when you apply for the Chinese Communist Party, they will come. Even if you are in the remotest village of China, they will come and they will investigate about you, about your everyday life, about your religious beliefs and things, and after that they are going to accept or reject you. So, the party is heavily male. Why wouldn't it be? Obviously. Females represent only 1/4 of the total membership. Every party member must be organized into brand, cell, or specific unit. It is not that if you become a Chinese party member, the Communist Party member, so you will just be given a card and then you can keep that card in your pocket and roam around. It's not like that. You will be given a specific task. You have to organize the country one way or another, even if it is on a very, very basic level. The party units exist in all official organizations, including universities. At the end of 2011, party units existed in nearly 1 million private businesses, which is huge. Okay, the People Liberation Army. A total of 2.25 million personnel they have in the army. The PLA cannot be considered a national army because belonging to the state. Instead, it is an armed wing of the Communist Party. This is very important to notice. The army does not belong to the state. It belongs to the party. With the party's exercise of absolute leadership over the military, thus providing a fundamental guarantee of Communist Party rule. So you may say that they are the thugs of the Communist Party. Please don't tell this to Chinese people. Collective leadership. China has had no supreme leaders since the death of Deng Xiaoping in 1997. The 7 men who sit on the country's supreme decision-making body, the Communist Party's Politburo Standing Committee, it forms a collective leadership. You can say it forms a committee or a council in which each man has a rank from 1 to 7 and shoulders primary responsibility for a specific portfolio. Why do they have a collective leadership team? It will be a good question to ask. The collective leadership feature of the Communist Party is designed to guard against the excesses of Mao Zedong, the founding father, and to prevent the emergence of a reformer who may ultimately destroy the system. And that was in the case of the former Soviet Union with Gorbachev. They were very scared of that. And since Gorbachev's perestroika, they do not want such type of thing to happen in China. Then they have the National People Congress. Okay, the National People Congress is the parliament of China. Fine. The NPC is the nation's unicameral legislature. There are 3,000 deputies. It is strong on paper but very weak in practice. Theoretically, the NPC has the power to amend the constitution. It has the power to supervise its enforcement, ratify treaties, approve the state budget, and many other responsibilities. But one major reason of the NPC's weakness is the Communist Party insistence that it served a little more than a rubber stamp for participation. Before the National People's Congress meet, the Communist Party already meet and they decide what they are going to do in the Congress. The same thing happens in the Congress, and basically the Communist Party does everything. The National People Congress is just an eye watch. Okay. Every March, the NPC holds an annual conference. It is a 10-day long event with all 3,000 deputies attending. The full session in March 2013 marked the start of a new 5-year Congress. The meeting approved the new president, vice president, and premier, but in reality, it was just a formality. Unlike the United States of Congress, the NPC does not pass spending bills. Rather, it votes to approve the budget presented by the Ministry of Finance. Because the full session of NPC is brief, most work is done by NPC Standing Committee, which meets every 2 months, and it has 161 members. So this is how the National People Congress look. You can see that the National People Congress have a standing committee. The standing committee further have 5 branches: the General Affairs Office, the Legal Work Commission, the Budgetary Work Commission, the Deputy Credential Examination Committee, Hong Kong and Macau Basic Law Committees. And then they are further divided into Ethnic Affairs Committee, Law Committee, Committee for Internal Judicial Affairs, Financial Economic Committee, Education, Science, Culture and Health Committee, Foreign Affairs Committee, Overseas Chinese Affairs Committee. They are very different, Foreign Affairs and Overseas Affairs Committee. Environmental and Resource Protection Committee, Agriculture and Rural Affairs Committee. The NPC has a range of committees that meet on a regular basis. Independent candidates for the NPC, the people who are not part of the Communist Party. Since 2011, China has seen a wave of independent candidates contesting elections for the People's Congress. Such candidates have faced forms of official harassment, extra-legal detention, imitation of their supports, well, some of them were killed too, censorships and election irregularities. Despite these challenges, some independent candidates have succeeded at being elected. China have 8 minor political parties. Their role is strictly circumscribed by the Communist Party, uses their extensive existence to argue China operates a multi-party cooperation system and therefore is not a one-party system. So once again, these parties are just an eye watch that see we are such a democratic nation. We have 8 other parties, although we all know that these 8 other parties are not given the same importance as the Communist Party. Crucially, the minor political parties are obligated to accept the permanent leadership of the Communist Party. The new members of minor political parties is controlled by the Communist Party and is fewer than 1 million. The power of provincial governments. Provincial leaders are powerful players in the Chinese political system. 6 of them, all of them are party secretaries. They sit on the party's Politburo, making them among the 25 most powerful people in the country. All provincial leaders receive the same bureaucratic rank as central government ministers. So, level of administration in China. China have 4 levels of administration under the central government. First level, 34 provincial level governments where they have 23 provinces, 5 autonomous regions, 4 supersized municipalities and 2 special administrative regions. On the second level, more than 300 prefecture administrative level governments including prefecture level cities. Third level, nearly 3,000 counties and county level cities. On the fourth level, which is the lowest level, they have approximately 40,000 townships and towns. Fiscal decentralization. Fiscal decentralization has been a major force empowering the provincial governments Provinces have their own revenue stream. Governments at the provincial level and below are responsible for the lion's share of the country's public expenditure, including almost all spending on education, health, unemployment, insurance, social security, and welfare. This is a very important point because this is how, even on the most basic level in China, people get all those facilities. Provinces have the right to pass their own laws, provided there is no conflict with the national law. If it is not against the constitution, they can pass their own law. Now, who appoints the leaders in these provinces? Provinces don't have the power to appoint their own leaders. The party office in Beijing manages the appointment and promotions of all provincial party secretaries and governors. It will move governors frequently between states to ensure no governor can build up a regional power base. A document-based culture, which is also known as red tapeism. Statements by individual leaders are less important than the documents approved by collective leadership team. China's document-based culture includes a heavy reliance on paper documents even in the digital age. China rejects the notion of the separation of powers. It does not believe in separation of powers. वो कहते हैं भाई हम believe ही नहीं करते separation. Okay. The importance of ideology. In its constitution, the party still officially proclaims the realization of communism to be the highest ideal and the ultimate goal. Still, China provides preferential treatment to the state-owned enterprises. However, China has implemented many reforms. Private property. In 2007, China finally passed a law protecting private property rights. The ideal and reality of meritocracy. I guess we've already discussed this. According to the Communist Manifesto, people rise within the party or state hierarchy based on their moral integrity and their professional incompetence. This is actually written in the Communist Manifesto, page 11 and 12. And on their merits without regard to their origin. However, a 2012 study by US and Chinese experts found that the government awarded promotion based on factional ties, familial ties, and educational qualifications. Familial ties important for promotion in China. The children of high-level officials dubbed princelings in colloquial Chinese are particularly prominent at the highest level of the Chinese political system. So nepotism is there. With 4 out of the 7 members of the current political Politburo Standing Committee meeting that description. China's most prominent princeling is the current president Xi Jinping himself, the son of the revered revolutionary Xi Yongshan. Age and time limits for official positions. As general guide, no one older than 67 is appointed or reappointed to Politburo Standing Committee or the wider Politburo. All top officials are limited to 2 5-year terms on top posts. A legacy of central planned economic system of the 50s and 60s, the Chinese place heavy emphasis on long-term planning. China prepares 5-year plan that set economic, social and demographic targets and identify priority industry for development. Other plans lay out roadmaps over a longer period of time. For example, roadmap for scientific development runs to 2050. Emphasis on political stability. This is a very important thing in China. In 1989, Tiananmen Square massacre undermined the Communist Party legitimacy and damaged its reputation worldwide. Since then, the Communist Party has made the maintenance of social stability its top priority. Police and law enforcement personnel. The domestic security apparatus includes an 800,000 strong police force under the Ministry of Public Security. There is an additional 1.5 million strong paramilitary force called the People's Armed Police. The 2.25 million military personnel in the PLA also have a domestic and national defense mandate. Internal security agencies. The party's propaganda department plays an important role in censoring the media to prevent discussion on subjects they may call for political change. The Ministry of State Security Forces focuses on internal security threats as well as conducting intelligence gathering abroad. The Ministry of Justice operates the prison system. The 2013 national budget contained planned spending of $123 billion on internal security compared to $119 billion on defense. You can see how great. Stovepiping and bureaucratic competition. The Chinese face the difficulty of stovepiping, in which individual ministries and hierarchies share information up and down the chain of command, but not horizontally with each other. Sometimes multiple agencies assert jurisdiction over an issue, competing with each other for scarce budget resources and powers. The distorting influence of bureaucratic rank. Chinese political culture features carefully observed system of ranks that identify the relevant importance of people, official agencies, public institutions. Rank conscientiousness affects the way officials and agents react with each other. This makes it difficult to achieve successful interagency coordination. Chinese Banking Regulatory Commission may have difficulty regulating banks in provinces because the banks are seen as having equal status in the rank system. Judicial authorities may not be independent when it comes to investigation. The Chinese Communist Party. You can investigate anybody in China except the Communist Party. The Communist Party holds itself above the law when it insists that judicial authorities cannot investigate party members without party's consent. Factionalism. Although China is a one-party state, multiple coalition, faction and constituency exist within the political system. Political mentorship, place of birth, affiliation to one's parents, common educational or work history may lead to people forming political alliances. Types of corruption. China. Lavish gifts and expensive meals bestowed on officials by those seeking favors. Same as Pakistan. Bribes explicitly provided in exchange for permits and approvals. Privileged opportunities offered to officials to acquire corporate shares. Exceptions of friends and relatives and business associates from enforcement of the law. So when it comes to this, we are just like the Chinese. A 2011 report released by China's central bank estimated from the mid-90s to 2008 corrupt officials who fled overseas took with them $120 billion in stolen funds. Estimates of illicit financial flows out of China are many times higher. In a 2012 report, Global Financial Integrity, a Washington-based research and advocacy organization, estimated that total illicit financial flows out of China in the decade from 2001 through 2010 amounted $2.74 trillion, with $420 billion leaving China illicitly in 2010 only. The international non-governmental organization Transparency International ranks China 80th on Corruption Perception Index, with the top-ranked countries being the least corrupt. China ranks just below Sri Lanka and above Serbia. The US ranks 19th. Traditional media and the new media. The Communist Party's People Daily has led the propaganda machine for many years, their newspaper. Its sister paper is the Global Times, which occasionally may appear to be a little more independent. China Central Television, CCTV, which operates on multiple channels and multiple platforms, has a critical role in conveying party-approved messages only. The most significant development in recent years has been the explosive growth of Twitter in like services known as Weibo, literally microblogs which have empowered citizens to share news and views. As of January 2013, 41% of Chinese were online, about 309 million Chinese were Weibo users, and authorities police Weibo posts. State-owned enterprises in strategic industries like electricity, finance, and telecommunications have emerged as global powerhouses. 3 Chinese state-owned enterprises are among the top 10 firms in the Fortune 500 global business ranking. That was it about China and the Chinese political system. If you people have any questions, you know where to ask. Have a good day.